Did you know that people that are more optimistic live 11 to 15% longer than those that are less optimistic? Stay tuned to learn more. Hi, I'm Shawn Doyle. I'm the CEO of Shawn Doyle Training. I'm a speaker, an executive coach, and a book author and a trainer.
And I'm Rachael Doyle, COO of Shawn Doyle Training, a book author and life strategy coach.
So today we're going to talk about some really interesting things. Talk about what are 5 questions you can ask yourself to overcome adversity and tough times. These are based on our book, How to Stay Motivated and Positive During Tough Times.
And there's always tough times.
Unfortunately, there are. So let's talk about question number 1. How do you rekindle motivation when it feels like you're lost? So I'll give you a couple of techniques here. Technique number 1 is called the joy list. Now, what is the joy list? It's a tool that I developed years ago, and it's the idea of if you're depressed or down or sad, going through tough times, what's the opposite of those emotions? It's joy. So what you basically do is take a piece of paper and you write down what are the things that bring you joy on a regular and consistent basis. Maybe it's gardening, maybe it's spending time with friends and family, maybe it's horseback riding, maybe it's playing the drums, maybe it's the ocean, whatever that happens to be. But you take that joy list and write down everything that brings you joy.
We have one right here. This is our joy list. We made it look really pretty, but you just don't have to do that. Just write the joy list and write all the things that truly bring you joy, that you love to do on a regular basis. And then keep it with you. Keep it at your desk, keep it in your pocket, keep it in your purse, wherever. And you look at that daily and pick one of those things, at least one a day, and you focus on doing something on that list that brings you joy, that you really enjoy to do, to retrain your brain how to feel joy again.
And boy, does it work. Tip number 2 is called action. Now, we talk about this a lot, Rachel and I do in our company and with our clients, and particularly with our coaching clients, that stagnation is not good. People are struggling with how do I get out of this situation? Well, guess what? You got to take action, and the couch is not your friend. So what you have to do is get up and take steps.
You have to force yourself, no matter how difficult it is. You don't want to get started. Force yourself to take that first step and get moving. The body was meant to move.
So, what are 3 things you can do today to get you into action and get you motivated and fired up? Tip number 3, don't wait until you feel like it. All of us have had this experience. We say, in the morning, I'm going to go for a run. We set the alarm goes off, we roll over, we hit snooze. We're like,
And snooze.
and snooze, and
And
snooze,
snooze. And
and
snooze.
snooze. But when we get up and we get on those running shoes and go out for a run, we're like, wow, I am so glad that I did that. But it's that first step, that initiative that's so important.
And once you take that first step, you'll be so glad, happy that you did.
Absolutely. And the tip number 4, go back to the why. Now, what do we mean by the why? Go back and look at your goals. You have compelling goals. What are they, right? What are those dreams that you have to remind yourself, right, why you had them in the first place? Now,
Hold on. Does everybody have goals?
that's right. Some people don't have goals. Oh my gosh. Hey,
Shockingly.
if you don't have goals, don't feel bad. Actually, what we found from the research is that about 81% of the population does not have goals.
Written down goals, an idea of where you're going. It never ceases to amaze me that people spend a year planning a 1 week vacation, but they don't spend any time writing their goals down and planning their life.
This is your life, folks. This is so important. Now, question number 3, which is a really interesting one, is are there daily habits and routines that can help boost motivation during tough times? And the answer is yes. That's the good
Yes.
news. That's the really good news. So, Rachel and I read this book several years ago called Tools of Titans. What was really interesting about this book was these were interviews with millionaires and multimillionaires and leaders in their field. And what interesting is about 85% of the people said in the book, the first thing I do every morning is I do some sort of morning ritual. So that morning ritual first is get up and tell yourself it's going to be a great day. Just say to yourself, it may sound silly, but you got to say, it's going to be a great day.
What you tell your mind, it believes.
And then the other thing that's interesting in the book, they said, Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, is those folks in that book, they started out with some sort of morning ritual. May have been exercise, meditation, prayer, a healthy breakfast, watching something positive like a YouTube channel like ours, listening to something positive like a great podcast. But the idea is starting out your day on the right foot, and it's all going to go really great from there.
And try not to start off reading the news,
Oh,
jumping into email, get into everything that brings you stress and negativity. That'll come later. You have to get into that, but don't do that first thing in the morning. Start off on a good note, a positive note.
Absolutely. And tip number 4, make sure to review your goals every day. Now, we talked about goal setting in the last tip, but now we're saying you've got them in writing, review them every single day. And that's really important to keep up that fire and that motivation as to why you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Make sure you keep your list, your goals handy, and you look at them on a daily basis. You need to know where you're going in life. After all, a pilot doesn't start off going, I guess I'm going to go here or go there. He files a flight plan, or she.
Yeah, you can't hit a target if you don't know what it is. Next, focus on what you can do to make a difference. So I think it's really important to really focus on that because
Absolutely.
so question number 3, how can one stay motivated and positive when external circumstances are beyond our control? So first of all, is give it up. Now, we're not saying to be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand, right? We're realists, we get that, right? We're optimists, but we're also realists. But here's the deal. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world. Maybe you've noticed. There's wars, there's famine,
Mhm.
there's all these things with politics. And we're not saying that you ignore those, but what we're saying is got to be very careful, have empathy, but just don't get really caught up in all that stuff. It really can ruin your day.
What you feed your mind is how it's going to react to things. So it's important to not intake all that negativity.
Absolutely. And the other thing is focus on what you can control. There's a couple of things you can control. You can control your reactions. You can control your mindset. For example, we travel a lot as professional speakers and trainers. And we're amazed at how many people in airports, when a flight is canceled or delayed, they go ballistic. They stand this out, they have a fit, right?
Crazy.
It's crazy. And why?
It's frustrating when that happens, but you can't control it. So why get your blood pressure all in a tizzy and get all worked up on something you can't control anyway?
Yeah, we were in Charlotte one night and the flight was canceled and we were standing in line and the gentleman in front of us, we were very worried about it. We thought he was going to have a heart attack. He was like blood red face and sweating and screaming and yelling. I was like, calm down. I mean, you can't control it anyway. You're going to give yourself a heart attack or
There
a
are
stroke.
some things that are just out of your control. So your reaction to it is very important, how you deal with it.
And it also gives you great power if you realize that you do have control over your reaction.
Absolutely.
Next tip, focus on what you can do to make a difference. So for example, how can you make a difference with your family, meaning your husband, your wife, your kids, right? How can you make a difference with them? How can you make a difference in your household? How can you make a difference by being part of a charity, a part of your neighborhood? Because helping other people, believe it or not, when you're down, will actually make you feel better. It will raise you up because it's a very fulfilling feeling by giving back to others.
We forget how wonderful it is to do something nice for someone else. That feeling is wonderful. And that really, really puts us on the whole different mindset.
Absolutely. Question number 4, how can support systems be leveraged to maintain positivity and motivation? Well, the first one is eliminate the ESVs. Wrote a book several years ago called Jumpstart Your Motivation. And Jumpstart Your Motivation, I mentioned these people. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but there's some people in the world that are ESVs. That stands for energy sucking vampires.
And we all know who they are.
Yes, we do. And these are the people when you mention an idea will say, well, that wouldn't work, and you don't have the talent, you can't do that, and well, you don't have the resources, and they will tell you all the reasons why something won't work.
They're always right there to tell you how something can't be done that you want to do.
That's exactly right. And there's two kinds of ESVs. There are human beings, people. Maybe it's a coworker, a brother, or sister, mother, father, whoever. Then there's also the media, the news media, and television, and the internet. And it's always interesting to us that there's so much negativity. You got to be really careful about what you expose yourself to in the media. Then the second type of thing I want you to think about in terms of staying positive and having those resources and support is having EBCs. Now, EBCs are the opposite of ESVs. EBC stands for Energy Building Champion. And Rachel, many of our friends are EBCs, thank goodness, and they encourage us and support us and love
Absolutely.
us and say, you
They're
can do
happy
it.
for us.
Yeah,
They believe in us. And there are many people out there who do. You just have to focus on them.
absolutely. And so, again, there's two sources of EBCs. There are people, like we just talked about. Then there's also books and videos and podcasts. And we live in a world today that's just so amazing because we have so many resources available to us, literally with the touch of a button. So that's what's so great about it. So make sure to do that. Then third is groups. Maybe think about joining a group for support on what you're struggling with. Maybe you're having health issues. Well, there's a lot of great support systems at hospitals where people who have certain conditions can go and sit with other people having the same challenges, right? There's all sorts of groups online and in person. So if you're having a struggle, find a group that you can belong to find other people that can support you.
Along with the internet, there's a lot of not so nice things and things that bring us down, but there's a lot of resources. We have the internet that we could find almost anything there. So find groups that will be on your side, those energy building champions.
Have your own group of energy building champions. I love that. Question number 5, can we shift our mindset from reframing negative thoughts towards positivity? And the answer is yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Now here's the challenge though, right? Number one, we have to challenge our thinking. Rachel and I find this interesting. It's funny that we think our thoughts are always correct, but the reality is they're not. They're not. You say, well, whatever thought you have, it may not be an accurate thought. So one technique of correcting an inaccurate thought is to start keeping a journal. And what you do is you take a journal, you write that down, and Mike Vance from Disney once called this displayed thinking. And the idea is to, good description, right? To display your thinking. You go, oh, I didn't know I was thinking that. So it's a really great way to evaluate whether your thoughts are accurate or not.
Take a little book and write those notes down. It's so important, that act of writing them down.
And research shows, right, that we have about how many negative thoughts do you think, Rachel, do we have a day? If you had to guess, how many?
100.
100. Well, that's not you and I, but the average public, right? But it's interesting that most people have between 6 and 10,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those are negative.
Wow.
And amazing. People get up in the
Negative.
morning and they look
80%.
80%.
Wow.
I mean, they get up in the morning and they go, oh. It's interesting. I had a coaching client years ago, and during before COVID, she would go into work every day commuting, and she would listen to what? DVDs, that were positive and positive podcasts and all that stuff in the car on the way to work. So about 45 minutes in the morning of positive affirmations. Then COVID hit, and she was no longer commuting to the office. She was staying home. Now I'm coaching her, and she said, Shawn, I just don't feel as motivated and as fired up as I used to be. I'm like, well, what's changed? She said, I don't know. Well, after much discussion, we discovered she stopped doing the morning ritual. So she wasn't getting that exposure to the positive information. So that really affected her greatly. So that really, once she reinstituted that practice, really changed her thinking back to the positive mindset.
So start off your day in a positive, very positive way.
That rhymes. Start your day in a very positive way. I like that. Next is framing an incident. Now, something might happen, and here's the deal. Whatever happened, right? But you're the one who puts a frame around it. So you might say this is either a negative experience or a positive experience, right? So you have to really question not the picture, but the frame you put around it. The frame, that's right. Now, interesting example, Stephen Hawking, who had obviously sadly Lou Gehrig's disease, was once asked by a reporter, Mr. Hawking, what do you think about having Lou Gehrig's disease? And his response was, I don't think about it. And he lived for 25 years.
Amazing.
Amazing. An amazing man. Now, we promised you 3 quick bonus tips here at the end, and here they are, right? Might want to write these down. Tip number 1, you might want to consider hiring an executive coach to help you challenge your thinking, or you might want to get a mentor, right? But those people really help you to say, well, why are you thinking this? Or why are you thinking that? Or well, I think you
Mentors
could do this.
can be so helpful. Find someone who has the same interest or an interest that you want to learn. And believe me, people are very happy to share with you the knowledge and experience they have. A mentor is a wonderful thing to have.
Absolutely. Tip number two, keep in mind that daily exercise can really give yourself a dramatic boost of your mood.
Exercise. I know we
Exercise.
get frustrated saying we have to exercise, but it does really, really change our mood once we take that first step and get moving.
Those endorphins, there's like 16 different chemicals released when you exercise, and they're all positive, right? So take that step, like we mentioned earlier, to go do that exercise. And then the third one is something that Rachel and I believe in passionately and fervently. Really make a commitment to learning something every single day, right? Because that's so important because you can now live, if you're learning something every day, a life of wonder and fascination.
Yes, it's important. I remember growing up as a kid, sitting around the dinner table, we had to tell mom and dad what we learned new that day. And if we didn't learn something new, we had to run to a thing called the encyclopedia. We didn't have the internet and find something new.
I remember those encyclopedias. All my rich friends had those. Those are pretty funny. When you knew a friend was rich, they have two sets of encyclopedias. What's shocking is 42%, believe it or not, of college graduates never read a book after graduation. So they stop learning. They stop learning, right? So that's it for today's show. Make sure to subscribe below to our channel. Make sure to comment. Tell us what you're liking, what you want,
Yes.
what you want to look for. And we're going to have videos every single week on how to be a great leader. And also, the link to our newest book
Yep.
this video is based on is below. And until then,
Remember,
remember,
you're the architect of your own life.
thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Have a great day.